Hello and welcome to Bluejay Business News. For this edition, I'm joined by Rob Edwards, who is Executive Chair of Bluejay Mining. Bluejay Mining listed in London, also in Frankfurt and in the United States on the OTC market, and a market capitalisation of around £12 million sterling. Rob, welcome back on the show. Since we saw you last, you've raised some money, you've done a placing, and the funds from that are going to be used at the Hammaslahti copper, zinc, silver, gold project in Finland. Two things. Tell us why the company's raised more money, and also why was it important to do so for the development of what looks like a project that can actually deliver some meaningful near-term value for shareholders?
Yeah, thanks, Tim. And nice to speak to you again. Look, we, as you pointed out, raised money at the end of June of this year to cover our exploration program. And yes, that was not quite the amount that we should have raised at that level. We had to come back and do something tactical, which obviously wasn't at a level which everyone was happy about. It was painful, but it was something that we needed to do, and it was intended to be quick. So without letting the price deteriorate any further than it had to, we are trading in and around the level that we last placed money at, but that gives us some runway. It gives us some room to continue a couple of strategic objectives, namely to finish off our assay program at Hammaslahti. So that'll be out in a couple of weeks, hopefully. So if you remember, every hole that we drilled showed mineralization, some really good-looking high-grade mineralization in some holes. So we aim to get that out to the market. Secondarily, we are in the midst of some good quality and meaningful discussions with some strategic investors, both in our Greenlandic portfolio and on our Finnish portfolio. Now, you would remember that Rio exited the Äänekoski joint venture, which it had with Bluejay for a couple of years. That program was limited to a very small part of Äänekoski around a former producing mine, but there's a whole slew of other targets on that belt. And interestingly enough, discussions that we're having with the current makeup of strategic investors, which is a very high quality group of companies, that they're far more interested in exploring the whole belt in its entirety, because they recognize that this is potentially a very big target. So let's not look at the sixpence size target around a former mine. Let's look at this whole belt and put some serious, potentially some serious capital into that. So I've been very encouraged. So we have a market cap and a share price which reflects uncertainty. It reflects the market. It reflects maybe some disappointment around the lack of progress we've been able to make around some assets we wanted to push further this year. But on the other side of that, we have some strategics who are very interested in our portfolio and who are interested in deploying capital into it. So that is something which we hope to talk about much more between now and Christmas as those discussions come to a head.
You've mentioned there these strategic partners you're talking to. I'm sure we'd all love to know who they are and you name names, and I'm equally sure that you're not going to tell us right now. But can you give us a bit of a hint of what kind of sectors they're coming from?
Well, they're not OEMs. They're not some of the companies that you've seen that need metals, that are investing upstream in the mining industry. They are mining companies. But there's also a crossover into strategic capital, which is interested in securing some supply chain development of important base metals. And let's not forget that we cover a whole suite of battery metals, from nickel, cobalt, PGM, zinc, germanium, copper, lead, silver. So we offer basically a strategic who's interested in nurturing our team, and that's one of the key selling points of Bluejay. Is we have a very good geological exploration and deployment team. If that money wants to have one company that's in two tier one jurisdictions, Greenland and Finland, one is less developed than the other, but offers significant upside, and that's Greenland. They would struggle to find something which is more interesting a proposition than Bluejay.
Well, let's talk about Greenland, because we've talked about the fundraise, which has gone
Yep.
into Finland. But, you know, in Greenland, you've got the Kangerlussuaq. I can never pronounce that. You'll have to help me with that one in the answer. But the Kangerlussuaq zinc, lead, silver project in Greenland, you know, you're targeting exploration next year. What looks like yet another project which could add some value. Give us a little update on what's going to be happening there, please.
Well, we have a 5-kilometer discovery zone, which is right next to a fjord in Greenland at Kangerlussuaq. Historically, actually many years ago, RTZ and Havana Minerals had that property and it was returning grab samples of over 40% zinc. So really, if you're looking for grade in the zinc space, that is somewhere where you would go and drill. We think there's something very interesting happening at depth. There's a lot of sulfide activity there. So we will go and drill that. It's a walk-up target. It's got surface mineralization, and we think it's part of a basin structure. Once we can develop this proof of concept, I think that's going to attract a lot of attention because of its scale, because of its grade, and because also it's in a proven mining district. Just south of us, we have the former operating Black Angel mine. It was an operating mine. I think a couple of previous owners have tried to bring it back to the market as a pillar mining operation, so to speak. But these districts kind of join together, and it is of interest to us to really get Kangerlussuaq and push it up the value curve. It's also got the highest zinc in stream sediment recordings in Greenland. So it's really, really a super scale and very interesting project.
Yeah, finally, what can you tell us? You've also got Outokumpu and the Enonkoski assets, as well as other stuff in the portfolio.
Yep.
What can you tell us about what else is going on in Bluejay?
Well, I'd also add to that. Let's not forget Disco, which is a very large district scale nickel, cobalt, PGM, copper opportunity, which is not far from Kangerlussuaq. So these fit in around our operating hub at Ilulissat. So we've been in conclusive and deep discussions with our JV partner Cobalt Metals about what to do in the coming exploration season. So we're approaching a consensus on what that should look like for the coming year, because we recognize that there hasn't been much activity around Disco this year because it took a long time to sift through the data which was gathered from the 2022 field season. But we hope to update the market towards October time on what the plan is. We still have a year and a bit to run an agreement. There is still budget to put into the ground, and we have to decide how we deploy that budget for the next year. And I think that's something which we really want to push along, again because it has the opportunity, it has the prospect of really moving the needle in terms of valuation of this company where we are now off our market cap. In Finland, we have Hammaslahti. We'll be releasing drill results on that soon, which hopefully will show some pretty interesting copper and zinc grades. Outokumpu is something which we haven't really been able to progress. It's a former producing belt, a former mine there, which produced that belt's produced over 50 million tons of very high grade ore, polymetallic, copper, zinc, lead. I mean, I keep on mentioning these elements over and over again, but I just want to reiterate that we have full suite exposure to many interesting metals. And Outokumpu is something which we would like to, if we had the luxury of having the funds, to maybe spend marginal dollars on in progressing. But our key focus is, Tim, I'd like to emphasize, really spending money on things which really make a difference to us, which is, all our assets are in the battery metal space. They're all in tier 1 jurisdictions. We have strategics interested in advancing those alongside us. And that's how Bluejay is going to get its market cap back up. We don't aim to take, we'd like to take de minimis capital out of the market until we get to that point. And whilst the last raise, no one was happy about the price, but we had to take that money for us to be able to create the runway to get to a much better point in time in the future. Bluejay in even 6 months, let alone a year's time, is going to be a very different company to what it is now.
Well, Rob, as those results start to come through, come back, see us again, keep us updated. But thanks for being with us today. That was Rob Edwards, Executive Chair of Bluejay Mining, giving us a quick tour across the whole company's assets in the portfolio and a very positive update. That's it for this edition of Blythe Ray Business News. Thanks for watching.